What's going on, guys? Welcome back to WrestleRant, where every single week I, Graham G.S. Matthews, break down all the pay-per-views that I watch on the WWE Network as well as on the Global Wrestling Network. Today we're talking NWA WCW Starrcade 1988, and quite honestly, one of, if not the greatest installment in Starrcade history up to this point. We've seen some good ones, we've seen some not so good ones. Overall, at least with the top half of the card, this was a really, really good show. And I would well recommend it to any long-term, old school wrestling fans. But we kicked off the show with a tag team match with Kevin Sullivan and Steve Williams, Dr. Death Steve Williams, taking on the Fantasticks for the NWA United States Tag Team titles. In the end, Sullivan and Williams won the belts in about 15-16 minutes. Pretty good match here, very formulaic, albeit very entertaining match. I had read up further on the match after I had watched it and found out that the Fantastics were supposed to face the team of the Sheepherders, better known as the Bushwhackers from WWE, but because they ended up going to WWE before the match happened, before Starrcade took place, they faced Sullivan and Williams instead. So I'm not sure where Sullivan and Williams came from as an impromptu team to face the Fantastics on this show, but it was a real good match nonetheless with Williams and Sullivan going over. We had the Midnight Express taking on the original Midnight Express. Very good tag team match here. This was awesome, classic tag team wrestling at its finest. Interference from Paul E. Dangerously, Paul Heyman, of course, and Jim Cornette from their respective stables, the respective tag teams who they were managing at that point in time. Got a ton of time, almost 18 minutes in the end. It was the Midnight Express, the new Midnight Express, going over here in a great match. They had a very long, storied history over the course of the late 80s, so this was just another encounter in the books between the two teams, but this was one of their better ones. This was a great match, and again, very formulaic tag team wrestling, but great tag team wrestling at the same time, if that makes sense. Like a formula done the right way. The opener was very entertaining, this was even more so. We had the Junkyard Dog and Ivan Koloff taking on the Russian Assassins here. This might have been the weakest match on the entire show, not to say that it was bad. We've had some bad matches on these shows before, but this was not all that bad. This was really not that terrible at all. It did not overstay its welcome. Lasted all of 6 or 7 minutes. The Russian Assassins went over. The crowd really wanted to see Koloff and Junkyard Dog go over, obviously, considering they were the baby faces here. But for what it was fine. It could have been a lot worse, and I can't complain about it. For the NWA World Television Championship, Mike Rotunda taking on Rick Steiner. Mike Rotunda obviously being the future IRS in WWE. This was a great match. This was really, really good. The crowd was super hot and super into Rick Steiner here. So as a match, it was pretty good. Not a great match, but the crowd heat I thought was awesome. The atmosphere was electric, and the crowd went fucking nuts for Rick Steiner becoming the new NWA World Television Champion. So great reaction to the finish. The match itself was pretty good. The finish was what really made this match memorable in my opinion, but good work from both men here. For the NWA United States Heavyweight Championship, it was Bam Bam Bigelow going for the gold against Barry Windham. And another decent match, not as good as I thought it could have been. Windham and Bigelow just did not work all that well together. I mean, again, it wasn't bad. It was slightly better than the aforementioned Russian Assassins versus Junkyard Dog and Ivan Koloff tag team match. But it wasn't great by any means. It was barely above average. They just didn't really seem to get on the same page. Never really left that first gear despite, being a 16, 17-minute match. Lasted a while. And to make matters worse, it ended on a countout. So Barry Windham won on a countout to retain the NWA US Heavyweight Championship. So a decent match with a lame finish. So not the best match on the show, not really the worst either, close to the worst, but not all that bad. Again, it was a decent match, but it should and could have been a lot better. After that, for the NWA World Tag Team titles, it was the Road Warriors defending against the makeshift team of Dusty Rhodes and Sting, who are really a dream team made in heaven here. The Road Warriors were heels here, which was rare because they were so fucking over. Why would you turn them heel? But when you go up against two beloved baby faces in Dusty Rhodes and Sting, it's pretty easy to get heat. And I thought they played their role perfectly here. Now, this match did not last a long time, really did not last nearly as long as some of the other matches on the show. It only went about 10, 11 minutes. And also ended on a DQ, too, which was kind of disappointing with the manager of the Road Warriors, Paul Ellering, getting involved and causing the DQ and keeping the tag team titles on the Road Warriors. But again, the crowd was super into this. As soon as Dusty Rhodes got the hot tag, or Sting got the hot tag in the end, the crowd went nuts, came oh so close to becoming the tag team champions on this show. But to ultimately no avail, the Road Warriors still the NWA World Tag Team Champions. But this was great. This was really, really good. Another great tag team match from all involved. Could have gone longer, but still for what it was, this was an awesome affair. And then you get to the main event for the NWA World Heavyweight Championship. Ric Flair defending against Lex Luger. I believe in a rematch from the previous pay-per-view. And it is. I'm looking at my notes from Great American Bash as well. They did face off at the Great American Bash pay-per-view mere months earlier. In what was a pretty good match. It was a good match, not a great match. This was a great match. Easily the best Lex Luger match I have ever fucking seen. The guy had a breakout performance here. They really should have put the belt on him here. The time was right. He fell short of winning the belt at the previous pay-per-view. It was their biggest show of the year. Lex Luger should have won. Ric Flair really had no reason to go over here. And maybe Luger would have bombed as NWA World Champion, but at least he would have had him win the championship. But this was an awesome match. They had a ton of time to work with, well over half an hour. And I thought the storytelling here was perfect. Flair said even afterward in the backstage promo that this was Lex Luger's final shot at the strap. So what, again, in storyline, it really should have meant that Luger won the championship, and he didn't. But I thought they worked very well together. He looked awesome in defeat. The storytelling, like I said, I thought was on point. And the finish I thought was great too. So Flair is up in the torture rack from Luger, which is his signature finish and maneuver. Luger's about to force Flair to tap out and become the champion. And then out of nowhere, Flair reverses it, falls on top of Luger, and gets the fluke victory to retain the title. I thought that was a great finish, and a lot better than the previous finish to their last encounter, which saw Flair win via referee stoppage after Luger bled too much. That was kind of dumb. This was a much better finish. Flair got the win, clean as a sheet. He may have had his feet on the ropes, if I'm not mistaken. But beyond that, it was a relatively decisive victory to end the feud. As a match, it was awesome. My only real nitpick is that Luger should have won to end the evening on a high note and send the crowd home happy and all that other good happy-go-lucky shit. But as a main event, this was fantastic to close out a very good Starrcade show. And again, probably the best Starrcade show I've seen since I started watching the shows late last year. Starrcade 83, 84, 85, 86, 87. All of them had some decent to very good matches, but overall they really weren't watching, from aside from a historical significance standpoint. In terms of pure wrestling, they weren't really all that great of shows. This, on the other hand, I thought was a great show. The only real nitpicks were Windham and Bigelow and the Russian Assassins versus Junkyard Dog and Ivan Koloff tag team match, which again weren't bad. I've seen much worse matches on these shows from years past. Those were two decent matches. They just paled in comparison to everything else on the show, which was fucking great. Very good to very good to great. So again, definitely check out Starrcade 1988. If only for the main event. If there's any one match to watch from this show, it is the main event for the NWA World Heavyweight Championship. But Sting and Dusty versus the Road Warriors, another classic contest, as well as the Midnight Express versus the original Midnight Express in the second match of the night, which was equally excellent. So that is my thoughts, my review of Starrcade 1988. Thank you guys for checking it out here on the channel. Be sure to like the video, drop a comment, share the video, and subscribe to the channel for more content. We are back next week. I'm trying to catch up on my schedule here for scheduled pay-per-view reviews, which is why 2 went up this week. 1 TNA 1 and now 1 WCW 1. Next Tuesday, I got my review up of NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 3 from last year, which was a fucking fantastic show, which I really wish I could have been at, because that show was stellar. Because I went to the first 2 Brooklyn shows. I'm going to this year's Brooklyn show. Last year's was the only one I did not go to. But I am looking forward to rewatching it, reliving it, and reviewing it for you guys right here on WrestleRant this coming Tuesday. So until then, guys, have a great rest of your weekend. I'm Graham G. Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.